We did 4 and 5 kind of in our groups and on our own and discovered negative times positive is a negative, negative times positive a negative 4 times now. Can you think of any way we could put on 0 pair and take off the positives where we wouldn't end up with just negative chips left over? Is there any way that would happen? What's a negative times a positive? Always. A negative times a positive is it's a negative. And so up here, we're going to write down our pattern as a negative times a positive seems to be a negative every single time, doesn't it? I can't think of a way that we would put on 0 pairs and take off the positives where the only thing left over, it has to be negative because it's a 0 pair, right? We have one more type of problem because we did positive times positive in 3rd grade. We always had positive numbers. We didn't have to do that one. Then we added sets of negative counters and just ended up with negative counters because every time you put negative on there, you get a negative answer, right? This negative in front means you're taking away, removing sets of positives, so what's left over are always the negatives. What do you think's going to happen? What does this mean? If I have a negative 2, that means I'm doing what? Adding or removing? Removing what? Removing 2 what? 2. Removing 2 sets. I'm removing 2 sets. Removing. Because the first one is always the number of sets. And what am I removing this time? Rain. I'm taking off 4 negative counters because that's the number in each set. And so we have to, because there's nothing to take away, draw 2 sets. And what am I going to put in each set? What am I going to put in each set? Well, what does it say? I'm going to have to take away from each set. Rain? If I take away 4 negatives, what do I have to do so my value to start is still 0? What do I have to put? I can't just put negatives on there. I have to put 0 pairs. I have to put how many 0 pairs in each set? How many 0 pairs in each set? 4 says Rain. She's right. Because that's what multiplication means. Multiplication is the same thing added over and over. And so I'm doing the same thing in each box. Because multiplication, by definition, means I am doing the same thing a certain number of times. And here I'm doing 4 counters 2 times. Okay? I'm removing 2 sets of -4. Now what am I going to cross out on my chipboard? What am I crossing out this time? What do they want us to get rid of? Huh? My negative counters, right? Because it says take away 2 sets of 4 negative counters. So I'm going to take away those 4 negatives and those 4 negatives. And what am I left with? I'm left with how many counters that are positive? 8 positive counters. And so now I get a negative times a negative, and I'm left with a positive. My positive chips are what's left. I want you and your table mates to do number 6 on page 3. Go.
How much time a week do we get on the tables?
You get 15 minutes 6 times a week.
Okay. I think I remember doing this.
Yeah. I bet you remember how to multiply positive and negative numbers too, don't you? Compare with your partners, and then someone volunteered to tell me what to do on my paper. Number 6 is just like, did anybody notice number 6 is just like the example we did? So it should be the same. Do 7 with your group. Go.